your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game tape.
Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, yeah.
Russell Peters, we were just talking about MMA off the air. Kung Lee is staying at your house for real?
That is correct. I was going to bring him with me, but I wasn't sure of the setup here. I didn't know it was like fancy like this.
Yeah, Fake Mustache Studios is pretty extravagant.
Oh, I get it, and that's why everybody has a fake mustache.
And you're going to take one when you leave. You get one as a parting gift.
Sweet.
It's like a gift basket, except
like
it's just a mustache.
But I'm an Indian. I could probably grow one by the end of this thing.
I tell people when I'm trying to like lure them to do the podcast, I go, when do you do it? I go, whenever you can do it, we'll do it. And they go, really? I go, 11 o'clock, whenever you can do it. And, it's like the Tonight Show in reverse. You can wear pajamas, you don't have to put on makeup.
That's right. I was worried I was underdressed.
No, you know what? I almost put on shoes right before you got here.
There you go.
My friend of mine, Ryan Sickler's got a podcast, The Crab Feast. He goes, I can always tell when you got company. I go, how? He goes, because they're the ones wearing fucking shoes. Because we're hillbillies here.
Nice.
So, you're a big get. In comedy, you're like, you are like the biggest guy. And I know you're a modest guy, but you know that you're enormous.
I get to do things that other comics don't get to do.
Yeah, well, let's start with the most basic thing you get to do that most comics don't get to do. That's tell jokes to 16,000 people at a time regularly.
That's not a bad gig.
No, that's like Eddie Murphy. That's Dice and Eddie Murphy and Dane. But even Dane's sort of like, it's ebbed a little. The tide's gone out for now because Dane's too funny to go out too long. He'll be back.
Yeah.
But you're a super, to me, and I guess to people listening, you're like a fascinating guy because if people said, well, what have I seen Russell Peters on? The answer is probably
not
nothing.
much.
They just, we'll get to the reasons. You're from India.
Born in Canada.
I think your Wikipedia
I'm Canadian.
page.
Yeah, that Wikipedia page is probably wrong.
The old citation needed on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Canada, Toronto.
Like I said, your parents were born in India.
That is correct.
100% Indian.
For the most part.
But your parents' names are Eric and Maureen.
That's right.
Real Indian family.
Eric Reginald Peters.
Really?
And Maureen Christina. And her maiden name was Wake.
Oh, that's probably, they're Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're from when the British were fucking my people for a long time.
Yeah, the British, Americans know history at all.
Not really.
Especially not world history. Like, they don't realize how hard the British bent India over a coffee table.
Oh, yeah. They were the richest country in the world until the British got there.
That's right.
And then all the crown jewels that the royal family has, all the royal jewelry, it's all from India. They stole it all.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The biggest diamond in the world, the Kohinoor, is probably somewhere in the royal palace, if I'm not mistaken. I may be mistaken.
Was India colonized before the British?
The Portuguese went there and tried.
But, they can't.
They did a little bit, but there's only so much chicken that you want to eat.
They're barely holding on to Cape Cod. They can't take all of India.
It's funny because the only people who get mad when I make jokes about them out of any race of people are the Portuguese.
Really?
It's so funny to me. Like, the only time I ever have people go, hey, I don't like the jokes you did about Portuguese people. Usually people are like, hey, I don't like those jokes you did about us, but they're, joking. But these people are dead ass serious. Like, hey, we don't talk like that. I'm like, have you heard yourself?
Is there a Portuguese stereotype that I don't know about?
In Canada, because there's a lot of first-generation Portuguese,
Yeah.
the stereotype is that they're all fishermen and
Well, they are. They came into Massachusetts
Well, yeah.
mostly.
they're fishermen and
In
then
Rhode Island, a lot of Porties and a lot of Porties.
And then
Porty,
they got
Porty bad?
No, the pork chops is what they call them in Canada.
Pork chops?
Yeah.
Porties and pork chops?
Yeah.
We need a lot of
Well,
mail
if you
on
want
this
to
one.
have pork chops, you can probably drink some port with it right after.
That's right, with a porty at the Packy store.
Wait a minute.
So what? So that's their big stereotype is that they're fishermen?
That they're fishermen and that and then
dicks.
the stereotype I said about them was that Portuguese just sounds like Spanish being spoken by a deaf person.
That's funny as hell because it's true.
Yeah, but they were like, no, we don't talk like that. I'm like, have you listened?
It is a super weird language. Like I remember when I lived in Manhattan, the little like bodega across the street was like a Portuguese family, and I always thought just from across the street they were speaking Spanish, and then I would try to speak a little Spanish, and then they just melt your face with their just in another dimension of like not Spanish.
Yeah, no, it's like somebody with the worst speech impediment you've ever heard. Hey, it's good to meet you, Jay Mohr. You know, and then you're like, hey, is that Portuguese? No, I talk like this.
Wow, boy, you have one of my favorite quotes that I just saw the other day. I don't make the stereotypes, I just see them.
It's true.
And in your stand-up, you hit your own race the hardest by far.
You got to. You got to make fun of yourself first.
When I've seen you do stand-up, and your dad, like you start locally with your dad, and then you sort of cast a much wider net, making fun of the Indian people as a whole. Is there a difference? What's the biggest difference between Canadian Indian people and Indian people that live in the U.S.?
I think the first difference is that the Indian people in Canada have been there much longer.
Really?
Yeah, that's Canadian immigration was open to Indians way before American immigration was, and we're way more blue collar in Canada.
The Indians are.
Yeah.
And so behaviorally, what's the biggest difference?
They don't have. I find a lot of the Indian kids here have a very entitled mentality. They
Do you
never
think
really.
you got something? Do you think that comes from wealth, from coming from money, not being blue collar?
They don't really understand the struggle. I mean, there's a little struggle for them, but they simulated way easier here, I think. The first wave, and now the second wave of Indian immigrants that are coming are clinging on to being Indian so desperately that it actually kind of sucks.
When I was a kid in grammar school,
Where'd you grow up?
Verona, New Jersey.
Okay.
There was 2 Indian exchange students.
Right. And
like,
somebody tried to exchange them.
Like pretty much, like in 3rd grade, and they were brutally teased. And brutal, and you know what? I'll say proudly, I stayed out of it because I just didn't want to get the shit kicked out of me by the Guidos either.
Right.
But it was Yesha Nayak, spelled Naik.
Yep. N-A-Y-A-I?
N-A-I-K. Maybe they changed it just
probably.
to not make any way. Yesha Nayak and a kid, Hemel Kapadia, who was so, like when I look back, I wish I had a time machine so I'd go back and just hug these 2 kids. Like all through high school, just Italians walking through the hallway, just punching the shit out of Hemel Kapadia.
That's probably me too.
Really?
Right up until 10th grade. 11th grade I started boxing. And I never, ever got beat up again.
Was there a moment where you just dropped the bully and everybody went, uh-oh?
There was a few times after that, yeah. I broke a guy's ribs once and one guy...
You broke a guy's ribs?
Yeah, I hit him with a left hook to the body.
Oh, body shots are so underrated.
Yeah. Especially when they're...
Kung Lee will back that up.
Oh, yeah. And then one guy tore some ligaments in his leg. I don't know how I did that one, but...
And is this in Toronto?
Yeah. Just outside of Toronto, Brampton. Brampton now, when I was growing up, it was like blue-collar white families and black families. And we were the Indian family.
You were the Indian neighborhood.
We were the Indian neighborhood. There was not many of us. There was Indians, but there wasn't... Like now they call it Bangladesh. Like it's all Indian.
Now were the whites happy that you moved in, that it was getting like less
brown?
brown?
No, you should have seen. I remember the first day we moved to Brampton. I remember I must have been 4 years old, and I remember hearing Packy for the first time, and I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, what is that?
That was our nigger.
Packy?
Yeah.
Like for Pakistani?
Yeah, but it was never said like, "Oh, a Packy." It was like, "You fucking Packy," and it would be like grown ass people saying that to me. When I was a little kid, I had no
You
clue.
would think if it was a black and white situation, they would embrace the shades of gray that were coming in. Like
in America, that's more likely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in Canada, no.
When you do your stand-up special was on last night or the night
it was
before,
weird.
and it's live from the. I said to my wife, I go, Russell's coming tomorrow. She goes, he seems like a really nice guy. I go, and you're a guy I've never heard anyone say anything other than how nice you were. My friend Tom Segura opened for you a couple times.
I love Tommy.
And said you were just like a damn sweetheart. And then I start watching you. It's the O2 Arena where like David Beckham plays soccer.
Yeah, Tom opened for me on that show. In fact,
oh my God,
that's the show Tom opened for me on.
There was 16,000. It was like a soccer game.
Yeah, we did that 2 nights in a row.
16,000 tickets, then 16,000 tickets.
Yeah.
Now I'm no math expert, but that's got to be like 20,000 tickets.
At least.
At least, sometimes more than that,
That's
Russ.
right.
Right? How hard is it to acclimate from performing for like 500, 1,200? Because when I would think once you get around 8,000 and above, you really probably have to really kind of do it differently, no?
You could approach it that way, but because
I wouldn't know, so I'm really asking you for real, hoping I'll catch fire
having
somehow.
played clubs for...
I'm using this podcast to catch hold with the Indian community.
So the first arena I did was in 2007, and that was the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, and that was my hometown. That was 16,000 people, and that was 2 nights in a row again.
And it sold out like in an hour, right?
It was quick, and but the thing is, for 18 years, I had been playing clubs.
Yuck Yucks on Bloor Street?
Yuck Yucks on Yonge and Eglinton, and I've played all those. And then
One-nighters in Guelph?
Yeah, one-nighters in Guelph.
Hamilton?
It's true.
That town smells like burning rubber and
true.
used condoms?
That's exactly what it is, in fact.
Oh, I guess, you know what? You're right.
So I did those for so long, I only know how to play a club.
Right.
So, and then I was playing like little theaters, but I would still play a theater like a club.
Like 1,200 seats?
1,200, 2,000, whatever, but it would be, I'd play it like a club. Because I'm not like the guy who's like, well, I'm in a theater now, I must perform for you.
Gotta dance.
Yeah. I didn't jazz hands at the end of the show or anything.
You know what? It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Jazz hands. And good night.
Come out with a cane.
Yeah.
And a scarf.
A Herman cane.
Good evening. Nah. That's my plan. For anybody that calls me a packy. Nah.
So then when I did the arenas, I would have cameras facing the audience. So if I talk to you in the front row, automatically you're on the screen behind me and on all 3 screens. So everybody in the room is in on the joke now.
Do you do like for crowd work or just...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like even when you saw on that O2 thing, I was talking to people in the audience.
Yeah.
The reason everybody in the room was laughing was because that person was on the screen now. So people in the back in the shit seat are still in on the joke. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, I don't know who he's talking to.
I just thought your fans were so rabid and delirious, you could have pointed at like a parking meter and went, it's got 10 minutes left in it. And they all would have went, yeah! Because I was like, they can't possibly know what the guy looks like in the 5th row.
Yeah,
but they did.
That's why I do that.
Was that your idea?
Yeah, well, it was my brother and myself, yeah.
That's really smart.
Yeah, because we were like, how can we keep this intimate?
When people, you do interviews all the time. You do way more than I do, I'm sure, interviews.
No, you do better interviews than I do.
What do you mean better?
You get to do, like, mainstream press. I get to do, like, the UCLA Bruin newspaper or some shit.
You want to trade places? I'll do the Russell Peters tour for a year, and you can play the Brea Improv.
I like the Brea Improv.
And hope Sunday fills up. And I'll be in Sri Lanka at a soccer stadium with a jail underneath it.
Perfect. You're in.
I would do that in 2 seconds. You wouldn't want to switch places with me, would you?
No, but I've actually.
You can't have sex with my wife.
Forget it then. I was just about. I was just
weird.
getting there. I was like, wait a minute.
I think she's upstairs sleeping on her tummy.
Wait a minute. You get the kids. I'm going upstairs.
When people ask me, like, is it hard to play theaters? Is it hard to play theaters? Are you the same as me where it's like, no, it's so easy because all the comics I loved growing up, I only watched them playing in theaters.
Yeah, that was the same with me. I saw Carlin. I saw Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I saw Eddie Murphy at Maple Leaf Gardens in 1986.
Really?
Yeah, it was the Raw tour.
I saw him at the same one, the Brendan Byrne Arena in New Jersey.
And it was called Pieces of My Mind.
I don't know what it was called.
I found
the Busboys opened for him.
I don't remember the busboy.
He's
That
like,
was
singers
delirious.
get all the pussy. The busboys come to my
That
house.
was delirious.
Oh no, you're right. It was the Weather Girls opened for him. It's a raining
Yes, that's
men.
correct. Yes.
And they opened with it. They did a medley in the
Yeah.
middle, and they closed with "It's Raining Men."
Yeah, and he opened the show with "Sorry I'm Late." I was watching porno in my hotel room,
Yeah.
talking about Ron Jeremy sucking his own dick.
Yeah, and I was with my Uncle Kent and my Aunt Susan and my sisters going, I know everyone's probably thinking this is super uncomfortable, but this is awesome, and I remember that was like an acting job. I had to act like, I don't know if this is right for me. Keep going, Eddie.
That's right.
That's what he did the bit about, when you
just-
make a woman come real hard,
Yeah.
ooh, 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 ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, she ain't never gonna leave you.
Yeah, when he was talking about.
Russell Peters, we were just talking about MMA off the air. Kung Lee is staying at your house for real?
That is correct. I was going to bring him with me, but I wasn't sure of the setup here. I didn't know it was like fancy like this.
Yeah, fake show in reverse. You can wear pajamas. You don't have to put on makeup.
That's right. I was worried I was underdressed.
No, yeah, you know what? I almost put on shoes right before you got here.
There you go.
My friend of mine, Ryan Sickler's got a podcast, The Crab Feast. He goes, I can always tell when you got company. I go, how? He goes, because they're the ones wearing fucking shoes. Because we're hillbillies here.
Nice.
So, you're a big get. In comedy, you're like, you are like the biggest guy. And I know you're a modest guy, but
Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game tape.
Donuts.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, yeah.
you know that you're enormous.
I get to do things that other comics don't get to do.
Yeah, well, let's start with the most basic thing you get to do that most comics don't get to do. That's tell jokes to 16,000 people at a time regularly.
That's not a bad gig.
No, that's like Eddie Murphy. That's Dice and Eddie Murphy and Dane. But even Dane's sort of like, it's ebbed a little. The tide's gone out for now because Dane's too funny. Mustache Studios is pretty
Oh, I get it,
extravagant.
and that's why everybody has a fake mustache.
And you're going to take one when you leave. You get one as a parting gift.
Sweet.
It's like a gift basket, except
like
it's just a mustache.
But I'm an Indian. I could probably grow one by the end of this thing.
I tell people when I'm trying to lure them to do the podcast, I go, when do you do it? I go, whenever you can do it, we'll do it. And they go, really? I go, 11 o'clock, whenever you can do it. And, it's like the Tonight Show.